How do you even, I mean, very few people of his size and strength were as agile as he was. Nobody looked as fucking frightening as he did.
Yeah.
And through my research, I couldn't find any point where he carried a major title.
Yeah, he worked a lot of places, and I'm gonna tell here's you a good backstage story that's a straight shoot. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now I said a lot of S's there, so however that comes across on our podcast, you're speaking with someone that took speech lessons for years because I used to stutter and could not speak. But with that said, Bam Bam Bigelow, here's your behind the curtain look. Bam Bam Bigelow is one of the reasons I'm in professional wrestling, because I was a school teacher for about 3 years, and I saw Sports Illustrated, and it had a special little article about the Monster Factory up in New Jersey. So there's your plug to the Monster Factory, and it had Larry Sharp standing behind Bam Bam Bigelow. And there he was with that fireball tattoo on his head. And it was a number. It was a 904 number to New Jersey. And I wrote that number down and called the Monster Factory. It's because I wanted to be a professional wrestler when I grew up, as you all know. And at this time, I'm in my early 20s. I've been training. I hadn't went to Malenko's yet. I hadn't met anyone in the wrestling business that was willing to train me, which eventually I did. But I called that number, and I went to the Monster Factory in New Jersey. I went up there. I met Larry Sharp. I met Charlie Fulton. I got in the ring. That was the first time I was in the ring, legitimately in the ring. And it was all because I saw that ad. It wasn't even an ad. It was a little article about Larry Sharp and Bam Bam Bigelow training at the Monster Factory. And at that point, he was probably 2 or 3 weeks into his career or whatever, and he was already getting over. And eventually, I met Bam Bam, and we got to hang out together. And years later, we was in a hotel room in Pittsburgh, and he and I got real close later on in WCW. I rode around a lot with Bam Bam. And my point of my story is this. We was in a hotel room one night in Pittsburgh, and we sit around talking, just bullshit, having a couple beers, whatever. I think he was drinking a little bit of wine, maybe. I know I was drinking some beer. Point is, I told him about that, and I thanked him. And he said, I hadn't been to WCW yet. And he was like, man, he said, you need to be somewhere. I saw you work tonight. I'm not just putting you over, Bobby, blah, blah, blah. And it made me feel good because there's a person that I felt was somewhat responsible for me getting into professional wrestling. Of course, needless to say, I did not choose going to the Monster Factory. I went to Malenko's. But because of that conversation, I was already in WCW, and he had finished up. I know he'd done the big deal with Lawrence Taylor and went on CNN and retired and all that. But when he came to WCW, he remembered me. And we traveled together sometimes out of Pittsburgh and Charlotte, depending on our US Air flights rather. So I always remember Bam Bam. And I think, like you said, the agility and the size and the strength and the shit that he could put together, man. And I think he's a legitimate badass, too. He could have carried the World Heavyweight title again for the AWA, the NWA, or the WWE. So hats off to the fireball-headed big Bam Bam Bigelow. Scott Bigelow, rest in peace, man. You could have been a champion. You were a champion in my eyes, brother.
Yeah,
so.